The wind howled across Mount Capachu, a jagged scar of ice and stone that loomed over our lives like a silent judge. 5 years ago, it was the stage of my greatest mistake and my gravest betrayal. I was 22, fresh from college, my heart tethered to Ryan Carter, the man I thought I'd marry. Our graduation trip was meant to be a celebration, a final adventure before we entered the world. Instead, it became a nightmare that shattered my trust and nearly claimed my life. There were 5 of us: me, Ashley Winters, Ryan, my boyfriend of 3 years, Emily, his junior from the research lab, and 2 classmates, Liam and Sarah. Ryan had planned the climb, his eyes alight with dreams of conquering the peak. I loved his passion, the way he'd sketch routes in his notebook, his voice steady as he promised we'd be safe. Back then, I saw him as my anchor, the boy who'd held my hand through late-night study sessions and whispered our future under starlit campus skies. He'd named his startup idea Zephyr Tech after us, Ashley and Ryan, a vow etched in ambition. But Emily was a shadow I couldn't shake. A brilliant student from a modest family, she wore her charm like armor, her sweet smile masking a hunger for status. She'd joined Ryan's lab, trailing him with questions. Her laughter too bright, her touches too lingering. Ashley, Ryan would say, she's just a kid when I bristled. She looks up to me. It's harmless. I wanted to believe him, but her presence gnawed at me, a splinter under my skin. When she insisted on joining our trip, dragging Liam and Sarah along, Ryan didn't resist. I swallowed my protests, hoping the mountain would be our reset. The climb started under a crisp blue sky, our boots crunching through fresh snow. We laughed, shared granola bars, and snapped photos against the glittering ridge. But on the third day, the mountain turned cruel. An avalanche roared down, a white tidal wave that buried our camp and trapped us in a shallow cave. We huddled in the dark for 5 days, our food dwindling to nothing but a single cookie in my backpack. Ryan had twisted his ankle, blood seeping through his bandage, his face pale as he begged, "Ashley, I need it. Please." Emily, shivering beside him, said nothing, her eyes hollow. Liam and Sarah, too weak to speak, watched in silence. I made my choice. I pressed the cookie into Ryan's trembling hands, my heart twisting as he ate. He survived, clinging to life until the rescue team found us. But Emily didn't. Curled in the cave's corner, her body was cold and still, her dreams of rising above her roots snuffed out by hunger and frost. I carried that guilt like a stone, replaying my decision, wondering if I'd chosen wrong. Years passed. Ryan's kindness grew, as if guilt polished his love for me. He proposed under a willow tree, his grandmother's ring glinting on my finger. "Let's go back to Capachu," he said, stroking a necklace he always wore, his voice soft. "To let go of the past and start fresh." I hesitated, the memory of that cave chilling my bones, but his eyes held a quiet plea. I agreed, checking our gear meticulously, oxygen tanks, ropes, thermal blankets, determined to avoid another disaster. The mountain greeted us with deceptive calm, its slopes gleaming under a golden sun. I adjusted my pack, the air thinning as we climbed. Ryan walked ahead, his silhouette sharp against the snow. I turned to speak, but his face stopped me, cold, unfamiliar, his eyes like flint. "Ashley," he said, stepping closer, "does this place look familiar? This is where Emily died." My heart lurched. The cave loomed nearby, a black maw that held our past. Before I could respond, Ryan lunged, his hands ripping my oxygen tank from my back. It tumbled down the cliff, a metallic glint vanishing into the snow. "You let her die!" he shouted, his voice raw. "If you'd given her the cookie, she'd be alive. You were jealous and cruel." I staggered, gasping in the thin air as he grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to face the cave. "Look, she's watching you!" Terror surged through me. This wasn't my Ryan, the boy who'd named our dreams. He shoved me toward the edge, his necklace swinging free, revealing a photo inside. Not mine, but Emily's, her smile frozen in time. My lungs burned, my vision blurring as he pushed me off the cliff. The world spun, snow and sky merging into a white void. I thought of my choice, my love, my mistake. If I could do it all again, I'd never trust him. As I fell, a strange shimmer pulsed in the snow below, like a heartbeat in the mountain's core. It enveloped me, warm and electric, whispering of second chances. My scream faded, and darkness swallowed me. When I opened my eyes, I was back in that cave. 5 years earlier, the cookie still in my pack, Ryan and Emily alive before me. The mountain had heard my wish and granted me a chance to rewrite my fate. The lecture hall buzzed with restless energy, sunlight streaming through tall windows onto rows of students scribbling notes. I was 19, a sophomore juggling biology textbooks and dreams of a future beyond the classroom. That's when I first saw Ryan Carter standing at the front, confidently explaining a protein model, which made the room lean in. His dark hair fell slightly over his eyes, and his steady, warm voice cut through the chatter. I didn't know then that he'd become my world, or that he'd shatter it. Our love began in fragments. A shared coffee after class, his shy grin as he offered me his scarf on a chilly evening. But the moment that sealed it came during a brutal flu. I was delirious, my dorm room spinning, when I accidentally dialed Ryan's number. He arrived within the hour, armed with porridge and medicine, his brow furrowed with worry. All night he sat by my bed, changing the damp cloth on my forehead, his hand brushing mine as he whispered, "I'm here, Ashley. Rest." In the haze, I saw his eyes, soft and unwavering, and my heart tethered itself to him. We were inseparable after that, dreaming of a life together. He sketched logos for a startup he called Zephyr Tech. Z for us, he said, grinning, a promise of our shared future. But even in those golden days, there was a shadow. Emily Dawson, a junior in Ryan's research lab, drifted into our orbit like a moth to flame. She was striking, petite, with wide eyes and a voice that dripped honey. A top student from a small town, she'd clawed her way to our elite university on scholarships, her ambition sharp as a blade. She craved status, the kind that came with influential circles and powerful names. With his charm and rising star in the lab, Ryan was her perfect mark. She'd linger after meetings, asking questions she already knew the answers to, her laughter too bright, her hand grazing his arm. "Ryan, you're brilliant," she'd say, and he'd flush, dismissing my unease. "She's just eager to learn, Ashley. Don't be jealous." Jealousy wasn't the word. It was how Emily watched him, calculating, as if I were an obstacle to her ascent. I'd catch her studying my clothes, my ease with Ryan, her smile tightening when I spoke. She wanted what I had, not just Ryan, but the life he represented, the connections my family's wealth could unlock. My father's tech giant company was no secret, and Emily's eyes lit up when Ryan mentioned it. I told myself I was paranoid, that Ryan's loyalty was unshakable. But doubt crept in, a quiet poison. Our friends saw it too. My best friend since high school, Mia, rolled her eyes at Emily's antics. "She's playing damsel to his hero," Mia warned, tossing her braid. "Watch her." Liam and Sarah, classmates who'd joined our Capachu trip, were less vocal but exchanged glances when Emily called Ryan her mentor with a coy smile. Ryan, though, was blind to it, or chose to be. He liked being needed, I realized, his ego fed by her adoration. At night, he'd hold me close, murmuring plans for Zephyr Tech, but I'd lie awake wondering if I was enough. The graduation trip was my chance to reclaim us. I envisioned Ryan and I on Mount Capachu, away from Emily's shadow, our bond renewed against the vast snow. But Emily had other plans. "A group trip sounds fun," she chirped, roping in Liam and Sarah before I could object. Ryan shrugged, his nonchalance a knife. "It's fine, Ashley. She wants to celebrate with us. After graduation, she'll move on." I bit back my anger, agreeing, hoping the mountain would be our salvation. It wasn't. Emily clung to Ryan on the climb, her voice a constant Ryan, Ryan, more intimate than mine ever was. She'd stumble, clutching his arm, her laughter echoing. Liam and Sarah, focused on the trail, said nothing, but their silence felt like pity. I walked behind, my heart heavy, telling myself it was temporary. The avalanche changed everything, trapping us in that cave, forcing choices that would haunt us. But in those early days, I couldn't see the fault lines. Ryan's need for validation, Emily's ruthless ambition, my refusal to confront the truth. Now, reborn in that cave, I saw it all. The mountain had given me a second chance, its strange shimmer a whisper of justice. Ryan's betrayal, Emily's schemes, they'd unravel soon enough. But first, I had to remember who I was before the pain. With Mia's laughter in my mind, I steeled myself. This time, I'd fight for myself. Mount Capachu rose before us, its snow-draped peaks gleaming under a late spring sun, a deceptive promise of adventure. It was May, our graduation cap still fresh in our memories, and the climb was meant to be our final hurrah, a chance to etch our youth into the mountain's timeless face. I, Ashley Winters, stood at the trailhead with Ryan Carter, my boyfriend, his lab junior Emily Dawson, and our classmates Liam Nguyen and Sarah Patel. My heart yearned for a moment to reconnect with Ryan, to banish the doubts Emily's presence stirred, but the mountain had other plans, and its shadow would mark us all. Ryan led the way, his pack heavy with ropes and carabiners, his enthusiasm infectious. "This'll be epic," he said, grinning back at me, his dark eyes catching the light. For a moment I saw the boy who'd nursed me through fever and named our future Zephyr Tech. I believe we could outrun the cracks in our bond. But Emily, trailing close, shattered that hope. She'd insisted on joining, claiming it was her last chance to bond with the team before grad school. I knew her real aim was Ryan, his attention, prospects, the doors his name and my family's wealth could open. She walked beside him, her ponytail bouncing, her voice a constant hum. "Ryan, is this the right path? Ryan, tell me about that ridge." Her familiarity stung. I was his girlfriend, yet she called his name with an intimacy that felt like theft. "She's just excited," Ryan murmured when I pulled him aside, my voice tight. "After this, she'll be out of our hair, Ashley. Don't make a scene." His dismissal cut deeper than her presence. I swallowed my retort, my boots crunching snow as I fell back, the gap between us widening with every step. Liam, a quiet engineering major, noticed my silence. "You okay?" he asked, adjusting his glasses. I nodded, but his frown said he wasn't convinced. Sarah, practical and blunt, muttered, "She's glued to him. It's weird." Their concern warmed me, a flicker of alliance in the cold. The first 2 days were idyllic. We pitched tents under a star-strewn sky, shared stories over a crackling fire, and snapped photos of the glittering slopes. Ryan taught me to tie a clove hitch, his hands steady over mine, and I let myself hope. But Emily was relentless. She'd stumble on purpose, clutching Ryan's arm, her laughter sharp in the crisp air. "Ryan, you're so strong," she'd say, her eyes darting to me, testing. I ignored her, focusing on the climb, but my chest tightened. Liam and Sarah kept their distance, their glances heavy with unspoken judgment. They'd seen Emily's act in the lab. Her mentorship with Ryan was a thinly veiled chase. Yet Ryan basked in it, his ego fed by her neediness, blind to the rift he was carving. On the third day, the mountain turned. Clouds rolled in, heavy and gray, the air growing sharp with warning. Ryan checked the weather radio, his brow furrowing. "We should be fine," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. I double-checked our gear, oxygen tanks, food, blankets, my hands steady despite the unease gnawing at me. We pushed higher, the trail narrowing, when a low rumble shook the earth. "Avalanche!" Liam shouted, pointing to the slope above. Snow roared down, a white beast swallowing our camp, driving us into a shallow cave as the world turned to chaos. The cave was a tomb of ice, its walls glinting in the dim light of our headlamps. We huddled together, our breath clouding, our food stores buried under the snow. For 5 days, we rationed what little remained, a few granola bars, a half-empty water bottle, until only one item was left, a single cookie in my backpack. Ryan, injured from a fall during the avalanche, lay against the wall, his ankle swollen, blood seeping through his torn pant leg. "Ashley," he whispered, his face pale. "I can't hold on. Please, the cookie." Emily, curled nearby, shivered silently, her eyes hollow with hunger. Liam and Sarah, their lips cracked, stared at the floor, too weak to plead. My heart tore. Ryan was my love, my future, but the others' lives weighed on me too. Emily's ambition, Liam's quiet kindness, Sarah's fierce resolve, they deserved a chance. Yet Ryan's pain was immediate, his voice pulling at my soul. With trembling hands, I pressed the cookie into his mouth. He ate, his strength flickering back, enough to survive until the rescue team found us on the 6th day. But Emily didn't make it. Her body, stiff and cold, lay in the cave's corner, her dreams of glory lost to the frost. Liam and Sarah, barely alive, clung to each other, their eyes haunted. I carried the guilt of my choice, a wound that wouldn't heal. In the hospital, Ryan held my hand, his gratitude silent but heavy. Liam and Sarah thanked me, their voices soft, forging a bond born of survival. But Emily's death hung over us, a ghost that would haunt Ryan's heart and twist our love into something unrecognizable. As I sat by his bedside, I couldn't know the mountain's shimmer had marked me, waiting to offer redemption. But I felt its call, a whisper of strength, urging me to hold fast. For myself, the girl who'd once dreamed with Ryan, for the future I'd reclaim. 5 years had softened the edges of Mount Capachu's nightmare, but its scars lingered in my heart. I, Ashley Winters, stood at 27, engaged to Ryan Carter, the man I'd once loved with every fiber of my being. His proposal under a willow tree, his grandmother's ring heavy on my finger, felt like a promise to bury the past. Yet unease stirred when he suggested revisiting Capachu, his voice low and his fingers tracing a necklace he never removed. To let go of Emily, he said, eyes distant. To start fresh. I nodded, ignoring the chill in my bones, hoping the mountain could heal us. Ryan had changed since the avalanche that claimed Emily Dawson's life. The boy who'd nursed me through fever and named our dreams Zephyr Tech was still there in flashes, his warm smile when we cooked dinner, his hand steadying mine on a hike. But guilt over Emily, his lab junior, had carved a hollow in him. After the rescue, he'd treated me with doubled kindness, as if overcompensating, yet his silences grew heavier. Liam Nguyen and Sarah Patel, our surviving classmates, noticed it too. At a reunion dinner, Liam confided, "He's not the same, Ashley. He talks about Emily as if she were still there." Sarah, ever blunt, added, "That necklace. He's obsessed. Be careful." Their words echoed my fears, but love blinded me. I clung to the Ryan I'd known, who promised forever. The climb began under a deceptively calm sky, Capachu's slopes glinting like polished glass. I checked our gear obsessively, oxygen tanks, ropes, thermal layers, determined to defy the mountain's curse. Ryan walked ahead, his pack slung low, his steps deliberate. The air thinned as we ascended, my breath clouding in the cold. I adjusted my tank's strap, glancing at Ryan, eager for a shared smile. But his face stopped me cold. His eyes, once warm, were flint hard, his jaw set like a stranger's. "Ashley," he said, his voice a blade, "does this place look familiar? This is where Emily died." My heart lurched. The cave from 5 years ago loomed nearby, its black mouth a silent witness to our tragedy. Memories flooded back. Emily's frozen body, Ryan's bloodied ankle, my choice to save him with that cookie. Before I could speak, Ryan lunged, his hands tearing my oxygen tank from my back. It clattered down the cliff, a metallic glint lost in the snow. I gasped, the thin air clawing my lungs. "You let her die," he roared, his face twisted with rage. "If you'd given Emily the cookie, she'd be alive. You were jealous and cruel." Shock rooted me. This wasn't my Ryan, who'd sketched our future under starlit skies. He grabbed my shoulders, shoving me toward the cave. "Look, she's watching you!" His necklace swung free, the locket snapping open to reveal a photo, not mine, but Emily's, her smile bright in a floral dress. The truth hit like an avalanche. He'd carried her over his heart all these years, not me. His love, his grief, had warped into obsession, and I was the scapegoat for his guilt. I fought back, my nails scraping his wrists, but the altitude weakened me. "Ryan, stop!" I choked, dizziness blurring the world. He laughed, a hollow sound, and pushed me toward the cliff's edge. "You don't deserve to live," he hissed, his hands iron on my arms. My boots skidded on ice, the drop yawning below. I thought of Liam and Sarah, their warnings unheeded, of Mia, my best friend, who'd begged me to trust my instincts. I thought of the girl I'd been, who'd loved Ryan fiercely, and the woman I could still become. He shoved me off the cliff. The world spun, snow, sky, stone, a white void swallowing my scream. My life flashed, Ryan's gentle hands during my fever, Emily's calculating eyes, the cookie I'd given him. Regret burned. If I could choose again, I'd save myself. As I plummeted, a strange shimmer pulsed in the snow below, like a vein of light in the mountain's heart. It wrapped me in warmth, electric and alive, whispering of justice, of second chances. My vision darkened, Emily's photo seared in my mind, but the shimmer held me, a vow of redemption. I didn't hit the ground. When my eyes opened, I was in the cave, 5 years back, the cookie in my pack, Ryan and Emily alive before me. The mountain had heard my cry. Its mystical pulse shimmer had reborn me to rewrite my fate. Ryan's obsession had destroyed the boy I loved, but I wouldn't let it destroy me. With Liam and Sarah's faces in my mind and Mia's strength fueling me, I gripped the cookie. This time, I'd fight for my survival and the truth. The cave's icy walls glinted in the dim glow of my headlamp, a frozen tomb trapping us in its heart. I blinked into the darkness, my breath clouded, sharp and ragged. I, Ashley Winters, was no longer falling off Mount Capachu's cliff, Ryan's betrayal, a fading echo. Instead, I was back, 5 years earlier, reborn to the day of our graduation trip's nightmare. The mountain's strange shimmer, that pulsing light that had enveloped me as I fell, lingered in my mind like a whispered vow. It had heard my regret, my plea to undo my mistakes, and granted me the second chance. My frostbitten cheeks burned with hot tears, not of despair, but of resolve. This time, I wouldn't be the victim. Ryan Carter lay against the cave wall, his ankle swollen, blood seeping through his torn pant leg. His face, pale and drawn, was the same one that had begged for the cookie in my first life, the same that had twisted with rage as he pushed me off the cliff. Emily Dawson curled beside him, her shivering form pressed close, her wide eyes glinting with hunger and calculation. Liam Nguyen and Sarah Patel huddled nearby, their lips cracked, their strength fading. The air was thick with desperation, the avalanche's weight sealing us in for 5 days. My backpack held the last hope, a single cookie, the choice that had defined my past and would now shape my future. In my first life, I'd given that cookie to Ryan, saving him while Emily died, a decision that fueled his guilt and betrayal. I'd chosen love over survival, trusting a man who'd carry another woman's photo over his heart. No more. The mountain's shimmer, a mystical pulse in Capachu's core, had awakened something in me, a fire to reclaim my life. I thought of Mia, my best friend, whose laughter had always grounded me and urged me to trust my instincts. I thought of Liam and Sarah, their quiet concern during the climb, their survival a debt I owed. This time I'd fight for myself, the woman I could become beyond Ryan's shadow. "Any food left, Ashley?" Ryan's voice, weak but demanding, cut through the silence. 4 pairs of eyes turned to me, their desperation palpable. My hands trembled as I rummaged through my backpack, fingers brushing the cookie's wrapper. In my first life, I'd hesitated, torn by love and guilt. Now, clarity steadied me. Ryan's betrayal revealed his heart as selfish, weak, and unworthy. Emily's ambition, her calculated claim on him, made her no better. Liam and Sarah, though, had shown kindness, their silence on the trail a respect I'd repay. But first, I had to survive. I pulled out the cookie, its weight heavy and meaningful. Ryan's eyes lit up, his hand reaching. "Ashley, please," he whispered. Emily shifted, her gaze sharp, ready to plead. Liam and Sarah watched, silent but expectant. I met Ryan's eyes, seeing not the boy who'd nursed me through fever, but the man who'd pushed me to my death. Without breaking his gaze, I unwrapped the cookie and bit into it, the dry crumbs a declaration. Shock rippled through the cave. Ryan's jaw dropped, Emily gasped, and Liam's brows rose. Sarah's lips twitched, a flicker of respect. "There's one more," I lied, holding up an empty wrapper, my voice steady. "Fight for it." I tossed it into the group's center, the plastic crinkling as it landed. The cave erupted. Emily lunged, her fingers clawing for the wrapper. "It's mine," she snapped, her sweet facade gone. Ryan shoved her aside, his injury forgotten in his desperation. "I'm hurt, Ashley. You owe me." Liam and Sarah hesitated, their eyes on me, then stepped back, unwilling to join the fray. Their restraint strengthened me, allies I'd protect. The wrapper's rustle was a spark, igniting the truth of who we were. Ryan and Emily's struggle revealed their selfishness, and their love was a hollow act. I sat back, the cookie's energy warming my blood, my mind racing. In my first life, I'd given everything to Ryan, only to be discarded. I'd used their greed against them, exposing their flaws to Liam, Sarah, and the mountain itself. The shimmer's echo pulsed in my chest, a reminder of my purpose. I wasn't just surviving, I was rewriting my story. As the fight subsided, Emily clutched the empty wrapper, her triumph fading to confusion. Ryan glared at me, betrayal in his eyes, but I felt no guilt. The mountain had chosen me, its light a guide through this darkness. Mia's voice echoed in my mind. "You're stronger than you know, Ashley." I'd prove it to her, Liam, Sarah, and me. The rescue team would come, as they had before, But this time, I'd emerge not as a savior or a victim, but as a woman reborn, ready to dismantle Ryan's lies and build a future on my terms. The cave's icy air crackled with tension, the dim flicker of our headlamps casting jagged shadows on the walls. I, Ashley Winters, sat against the frozen stone, my heart steady despite the chaos I'd unleashed. 5 days trapped by Mount Capachu's avalanche had stripped us to our rawest selves, and my reborn choice, to eat the last cookie and toss an empty wrapper to the group, had lit a fuse. The mountain's shimmer, that mystical pulse that had pulled me back 5 years, hummed in my veins, a silent ally urging me forward. Ryan Carter, Emily Dawson, Liam Nguyen, and Sarah Patel stared at the wrapper I'd thrown, their desperation a palpable weight. This was my moment to expose the truth. Fight for it, I'd said, my voice cold as the snow outside. The wrapper lay in the cave's center, its crinkle a siren call. Emily lunged first, her petite frame belying her ferocity. "It's mine!" she snarled, her sweet facade shattered, her ambition naked in her clawing hands. Ryan, his injured ankle forgotten, shoved her aside, his pale face twisted. "I'm dying here, Ashley! You owe me!" His entitlement, the same that had led him to betray me in my first life, burned through his words. Liam and Sarah hesitated, their eyes flicking to me. Liam's glasses glinted with calculation, Sarah's jaw tight with restraint. Their refusal to join the fray was a quiet vote of trust, a bond I'd nurture. The cave became a battleground. Emily scrambled for the wrapper, her nails scraping Ryan's arm. "You promised to protect me," she cried, her voice shrill. Ryan yanked her back, his strength fueled by panic. "I'm your boyfriend, Ashley. Please give it to me." His plea, aimed at me, was a lie. He'd never valued me, not when Emily's photo hung over his heart. I leaned back, the cookie's faint warmth in my stomach grounding me. In my first life, I'd saved him, only to be pushed off a cliff. Now I'd let their greed unravel them. Emily's following words stopped the struggle cold. "I'm pregnant, Ryan," she gasped, tears streaming down her face. "It's yours." The cave fell silent, the air heavy with shock. Liam's brows shot up, Sarah's mouth parted, and Ryan froze, gripping the wrapper. My heart clenched, not with pain, but with clarity. In my first life, Emily's death had hidden this truth, fueling Ryan's obsession. Now, her revelation laid bare their betrayal. "It was after your fight with Ashley," Emily continued, her voice trembling. "You came to my place drunk. I didn't take the pill. I'm pregnant, Ryan. Save our baby." Ryan's eyes darted to me, panic replacing his bravado. "She's lying," he stammered, but his hesitation betrayed him. The memory of his future rage, blaming me for Emily's death, flashed in my mind. He'd resented me for a choice he now begged for, his loyalty as flimsy as the wrapper. Emily's ambition and dream of securing Ryan's status led her to this desperate play. Liam and Sarah exchanged a glance, their disgust palpable. "You two are a mess," Sarah muttered, stepping back further. Liam nodded, his silence a shield. Their withdrawal strengthened me. They saw the truth, and I'd earn their loyalty. "Decide who gets it," I said, my voice cutting through the chaos. Ryan clutched the wrapper, his hands shaking, but Emily dove at him, her tears turning to fury. "You can't abandon me," she screamed, snatching it. They wrestled, a pathetic tangle of greed and betrayal, their so-called love exposed as a sham. I watched, numb but resolute, the mountain's shimmer pulsing in my chest. It had reborn me to see this, to strip away Ryan's mask, to reveal Emily's manipulation. Mia's voice echoed in my mind. "You're stronger than you know." I was proving it, not just to her, but to myself. Emily tore open the wrapper as their struggle faltered, her triumph fading to confusion. "It's empty," she whispered, her eyes wide. Ryan's gaze snapped to me, accusation burning. "You tricked us," he spat. I met his stare, unyielding. "It was my cookie," I said. "I chose myself." The words were a vow, reclaiming the strength I'd lost in my first life. Liam's lips curved slightly, a nod of respect. Sarah's eyes softened, her trust a silent promise. They'd seen Ryan and Emily's true colors, and I'd gained allies in this frozen hell. The fight drained them. Ryan slumped, his injury reasserting its pain. Emily curled into herself, her sobs hollow. I tucked my backpack close, the empty wrapper's lesson clear. Survival demanded truth, not sacrifice. The mountain's shimmer, a guardian in the snow, had given me this chance to rewrite my fate. With Liam and Sarah's faith, with Mia's strength in my heart, I'd outlast this cave. Ryan and Emily's betrayal was exposed, and their bond was fractured. The rescue team would come, but I was already free, reborn, not to save, but to conquer. The cave's icy grip loosened as faint shouts pierced the darkness, a lifeline breaking through Mount Capachu's frozen heart. I, Ashley Winters, clutched my backpack, the empty cookie wrapper a silent testament to my reborn defiance. The mountain's shimmer, that mystical pulse that had pulled me back 5 years, lingered in my chest, a quiet affirmation of my choice. Ryan Carter, Emily Dawson, Liam Nguyen, and Sarah Patel stirred, their faces gaunt but alive, as the rescue team's headlamps flooded the cave. We'd survived the avalanche's 5-day trap, but the chaos over the wrapper had exposed truths that would reshape our fates. The rescuers, clad in orange, moved with practiced urgency, their voices sharp against the cave's echo. "We've got 5!" one called, checking pulses. Ryan, his ankle swollen and bloodied, groaned as they lifted him onto a stretcher. Emily, her eyes red from sobbing, clung to his arm, her pregnancy confession hanging like a storm cloud. Liam and Sarah, weak but steady, leaned on each other, their glances meeting mine with a flicker of gratitude. My trick with the wrapper, eating the cookie and sparking their fight, had kept hope alive, even if it was a lie. The mountain had guided me, its shimmer a beacon through despair, and I'd emerged not as a savior, but as a survivor. The sterile hum of machines at the hospital replaced the cave's silence. I sat by a window, the sun warming my frostbitten hands, my mind replaying the wrapper's chaos. I'd saved Ryan in my first life, only to be betrayed. I'd chosen myself this time, exposing his selfishness and Emily's ambition to Liam and Sarah. Their trust, earned in that cave, was a new anchor. Mia, my best friend, would be proud. Her voice, urging me to be strong, had fueled my resolve. I felt the mountain's pulse still, a reminder that this second chance was mine to wield. Ryan's room was down the hall, his injury graver than before. The fight over the wrapper had worsened his wound, infection setting in. Doctors warned he might lose the leg. I visited, not out of pity, but to sever the past. He lay pale, his eyes hollow, the necklace with Emily's photo glinting on his chest. "Ashley," he croaked, reaching for me, "I'm sorry. I was wrong about Emily. Please, don't leave me." His plea echoed the boy who'd nursed me through fever, but the man who'd pushed me off a cliff loomed larger. I stepped back, my voice cold. "Take responsibility for her baby, Ryan. You and Emily deserve each other." His face crumpled, but I felt no guilt. The shimmer's gift had shown me his weak, selfish, unworthy heart. I smiled, sharp as ice. "Get well. You'll need to." Turning, I blocked his number on my phone, the final cut of a thread I'd once clung to. Emily, in a nearby ward, avoided my gaze, her pregnancy tying her to Ryan's ruin. Their love, exposed as greed, was fracturing under the weight of her confession. She'd chased status, but found only a broken man. Liam and Sarah sought me out, their recovery swift. Over hospital coffee, Liam adjusted his glasses, his voice low. "You saved us, Ashley. That wrapper trick. It gave us something to hold on to." Sarah nodded, her bluntness softened. Ryan and Emily showed who they are. "We're with you." Their words warmed me, a bond forged in survival. They'd seen my strength, not just in the cave, but in walking away from Ryan. It was a step toward the woman I was becoming, someone who valued herself, who'd fight for her future, not a man's approval. The hospital released us, but Ryan's prognosis darkened. Infection claimed his leg, leaving him crippled, a physical mark of his moral decay. News trickled in. He and Emily were together, bound by her pregnancy, but their relationship was a husk, poisoned by mutual blame. I returned to my apartment, Mia's call a lifeline. "You did it, Ash," she said, her voice bright. "You're free." I laughed, the sound foreign but real, the mountains shimmer a faint echo in my heart. It had reborn me to see the truth, not just of Ryan and Emily, but of my worth. Liam and Sarah stayed in touch, their gratitude a foundation for what lay ahead. I wasn't done with Ryan, not out of vengeance, but justice. His startup, Zephyr Tech, bore my name, but he'd tainted it with betrayal. I'd reclaim that legacy, not for him, but for me. The mountain had given me this chance, its pulse a guide through the snow. With Mia's laughter, Liam and Sarah's trust, and my fire, I'd build a future where Ryan's shadow couldn't touch me. The cave was behind me, but the climb was beginning. Sunlight streamed through my apartment window, warming the hardwood floor where I stood, a coffee mug in hand. I, Ashley Winters, was no longer the girl who'd loved Ryan Carter unquestioningly, nor the one who'd nearly died on Mount Capachu. The mountain's shimmer, that mystical pulse that had reborn me 5 years back, lingered in my heart, a quiet guide urging me forward. The cave, the cookie, and Ryan's betrayal were scars, but ones I'd forged into strength. 3 months after the rescue, I was ready to reclaim my future, not just through revenge, but by building a life that was mine. Joining my family's tech empire, Winters Innovations, was my first step. My father, a stoic man who'd built the company from nothing, handed me a junior executive role, his eyes sharp with expectation. "Prove yourself, Ashley," he said. I nodded, the weight of his trust fueling me. Beyond the office, I found joy in small moments. Lunch with Mia, my best friend, whose laughter filled the gaps Ryan had left. "You're glowing, Ash," she said over sushi, her braids swinging as she leaned in. "Like you've found your fire." Her words echoed the mountain's shimmer, a reminder of the strength I'd discovered in that cave. I smiled, feeling whole, not just for what I'd overcome, but for who I was becoming. My resolve hardened when I turned to Ryan's startup, Zephyr Tech, a name he'd once tied to our love but now tainted with his betrayal. Crippled and struggling, Ryan was desperate, his company bleeding funds without my family's contracts. I saw an opportunity, not to destroy, but to reclaim. I arranged a meeting, driving to Zephyr's modest office, where the city's hum contrasted with Capachu's silence. Ryan greeted me in a wheelchair, his face gaunt, the necklace with Emily's photo still around his neck. "Ashley, you came," he said, hope flickering in his eyes. I kept my expression neutral, the shimmer's pulse steadying me. "I'm open to investing," I said, sliding a contract across his desk. His relief was palpable, but I raised a hand. "On one condition. I want Liam Nguyen and 3 others from your team." Liam, who'd trusted me in the cave, was a rising star, his engineering skills vital. Ryan's jaw tightened. "They're my friends, Ashley. I can't—" I cut him off, my voice firm. "You can't afford to keep them. Your salaries are late and your R&D is stalled. I'll pay a penalty to break their contracts, enough to finish your project. Take it, or Zephyr collapses." Ryan's hands gripped the desk, his pride warring with desperation. In my first life, I'd begged my father to save his startup, propping him up for years. Now, I'd use his weakness to build my legacy. He signed, his signature shaky, and I felt a pang, not guilt, but sorrow for the boy he'd been, who'd sketched our dreams. The shimmer whispered, this was justice, not vengeance. Liam and the others, informed later, agreed to join me, their loyalty to Ryan eroded by unpaid wages. Liam said, "You're giving us a future," his glasses reflecting the office lights. A friend, Sarah, texted her support. "You're a badass, Ashley." Back at Winters Innovations, I formed a project team with Liam leading development. Our goal was to create a product to outpace Zephyr's, which directly challenged Ryan's fading dream. Work became my refuge, each late night a step toward the woman I wanted to be. Mia noticed, dragging me shopping one weekend. At a boutique, we tried on dresses, her teasing easing the weight of my plans. "This one screams power," she said, holding up a sleek blazer. I laughed, the sound lighter than it had been in years. These moments, with Mia, Liam's quiet respect, and Sarah's fierce encouragement, were my healing, proof I was more than Ryan's betrayal. The mountain's shimmer, though faint, guided me still. It had reborn me to see the truth. Ryan's love was a lie, but my worth wasn't tied to him. Emily, tied to Ryan by her pregnancy, was a fading concern, her ambition crumbling under his ruin. I heard whispers, her misery, his neglect, but I focused forward. Zephyr's collapse was imminent, and I'd ensure it fell on my terms. I'd build something greater with my team, not for Ryan, but for the girl who'd survived the cave and chosen herself. The shimmer's pulse, Mia's laughter, Liam and Sarah's trust were my foundation, and I was rising, unstoppable, from the ashes of my past. The city's pulse thrummed outside my office at Winters Innovations, where I, Ashley Winters, stood at a window, the skyline a canvas of my ambition. 6 months after Mount Capachu's cave, I was no longer the girl who'd loved Ryan Carter unquestioningly. The mountain's shimmer, that mystical pulse that had reborn me, glowed faintly in my heart, a guide through the chaos I'd orchestrated. My strategic poaching of Ryan's team, including Liam Nguyen, had weakened Zephyr Tech, but my work wasn't done. Emily Dawson's desperation, born of her failed gamble for status, would be the spark to ignite Ryan's final fall. I'd grown into my role as a junior executive, my days filled with strategy meetings and late-night planning. Liam's team thrived under my leadership, their innovative product nearing completion, poised to outshine Zephyr's. Beyond work, I found balance with Mia, my best friend, whose infectious energy grounded me. Over coffee, she'd tease, "You're a force, Ash." Ryan never stood a chance. Her pride mirrored my own, a quiet joy in the woman I was becoming. Strong, not just for revenge, but for the life I was building. The mountain's shimmer whispered, this was my path, forged from survival, not spite. A chance encounter at an upscale mall brought Emily back into my orbit. I was with Mia, browsing dresses for an upcoming tech summit, when I spotted her, bloated from pregnancy, her face drawn, struggling with shopping bags. Beside her was an older woman, sharp-eyed and stern, muttering complaints. I realized that Ryan's mother's traditionalist scorn for Emily's unborn daughter is palpable. Emily's ambition, once a blade to cut her way to status, had trapped her. She'd chased Ryan, my family's connections, only to find herself tethered to a disabled man and his disapproving mother. Emily's eyes locked with mine, a flicker of shame crossing her face. She whispered to Ryan's mother, who marched toward me, her expression fierce. Mia squeezed my arm, murmuring, "She's sicking the old bat on you." I stepped forward, smiling brightly. "Mrs. Carter, I'm Ashley Winters, an investor in Ryan's company. Here to thank me for my support?" The woman paused, thrown. "You're his ex," she said, eyes narrowing. I sighed, feigning regret. I wish things had worked out. I'd have cherished Ryan and supported his dreams with my family's resources. But Emily won him. I only hope she makes him happy. My words, laced with truth, struck Emily like a whip. Her face twisted and she lunged, her bags dropping. "You're still after him," she shrieked, reaching for my hair. Ryan's mother grabbed her, voice cold. "Emily, you seduced my son and ruined his future. If that baby's not a boy, you're nothing to us." The crowd stared, Emily's humiliation complete. Her pride, once fueled by academic glory, crumbled under the weight of her choices. I walked away, Mia's laughter a shield, the shimmer's pulse steady. I'd planted a seed, and Emily's desperation would do the rest. Weeks later, the fallout came. Emily, broken by Ryan's neglect and his mother's cruelty, made a desperate choice. Learning her baby was a girl, she aborted it, the procedure damaging her health, leaving her with a permanent scar for her ambition. In a rage, she compiled a tell-all PDF, every detail of Ryan's infidelity, his drunken night with her, his lies, and posted it online. The scandal erupted, painting Zephyr Tech as a house of deceit. Investors fled, and the tech summit organizers barred Ryan's company, citing reputational risk. Liam, now my lead engineer, shook his head at the news. "They imploded," he said. Sarah, visiting our office, added that Emily's post was brutal. "You didn't even have to lift a finger, Ashley." I nodded, the shimmer's glow a quiet triumph. My team's product was ready, poised to dominate the summit, while Zephyr teetered on bankruptcy. Emily's unraveling, a mirror of Ryan's moral decay, was justice I hadn't sought but welcomed. Yet I felt a flicker of pity, not for them, but for the lives they'd squandered. Mia's words at the mall echoed. "You're building, they're breaking." I was. With Liam's expertise, Sarah's encouragement, and Mia's unwavering support, I was crafting a legacy, not just reclaiming Zephyr's name, but redefining it. The mountain had reborn me for this, to rise above betrayal, to shine where others fell. As the summit loomed, I prepared to step into the light, my heart steady, my purpose clear. The Tech Summit's grand hall buzzed with innovation, its glass ceiling refracting Seattle's autumn light into a kaleidoscope of ambition. I, Ashley Winters, stood at the heart of it, my navy blazer crisp, my confidence a quiet fire. 9 months after Mount Capachu's cave, I was no longer the girl broken by Ryan Carter's betrayal. The mountain's shimmer, that mystical pulse that had reborn me, thrummed faintly in my chest, a beacon of my journey from victim to victor. Today, Winters Innovations would unveil a product to eclipse Zephyr Tech, and I'd claim the legacy Ryan had tainted, not for revenge, but for the woman I'd become. My transformation had taken root beyond the cave's chaos. At Winter's Innovations, I'd grown into a leader, guiding Liam Nguyen's team to craft a cutting-edge software platform, sleek, intuitive, revolutionary. Fueled by coffee and shared purpose, late nights in the office had forged bonds with Liam and Sarah Patel, allies from that frozen ordeal. Outside work, Mia, my best friend, had been my anchor, her laughter a reminder of joy beyond pain. "You're unstoppable, Ash," she'd said, zipping me into a summit dress, her eyes bright. "Own that stage." Her faith, paired with the mountain's shimmer, had sculpted me. A woman who thrived, not just survived. The summit was my proving ground. Zephyr Tech, crippled by Emily Dawson's scandalous exposé, had been barred, its bankruptcy looming. Ryan's infidelity, laid bare online, had severed investor trust, leaving his company a husk. I'd acquired its remnants at a bargain, handing them to Liam to rebuild under our banner. As I stepped to the podium, the crowd's anticipation was electric. Liam stood backstage, his glasses glinting with pride. Sarah gave a thumbs up in the front row, her blunt warmth a steadying force. Their trust, earned through shared survival, was my foundation. "Our platform redefines connectivity," I began, my voice clear, the screen behind me showcasing our software's interface. "It's built on collaboration, trust, and innovation, values we hold dear at Winter's Innovations." The audience leaned in, their murmurs rising as I demoed features Zephyr could only dream of. Applause erupted, a wave of validation. I glanced at Liam, his nod a silent, "We did it." Sarah's grin mirrored Mia's back home, a chorus of belief in the woman I'd fought to become. The shimmer pulsed, a quiet affirmation. This was my destiny, forged in Capachu's snow. Offstage, reporters swarmed. "Ms. Winters, how does it feel to outpace competitors?" one asked. I smiled, the shimmer's glow steadying me. "It's about building something lasting, not just winning." My words were valid. I'd sought justice but found purpose. Mia's text buzzed my phone. "Killing it, superstar." I laughed, the sound light, a testament to my healing. The cave had taught me to choose myself, but Mia, Liam, and Sarah had shown me what I could build with others. Their loyalty, rooted in that desperate fight over an empty wrapper, was my true victory. Zephyr's collapse was final. I heard Ryan was a shadow, his dreams buried under scandal and debt. Emily, scarred by her abortion and public shame, clung to him, their bond a prison of mutual ruin. I felt no glee, only a distant pity. The mountain had exposed their flaws, Ryan's weakness, Emily's ambition, and I'd used them, not to destroy, but to rise. Back at the office, I gathered my team. "This is just the start," I said, raising a glass. Liam toasted, "To Ashley, who led us here." Sarah added, "And never look back." Their words warmed me, a new family born of trust, not betrayal. That night, alone, I stood on my balcony, the city's lights a mirror of my resolve. The shimmer's pulse, fainter now, felt like a friend, its gift of rebirth complete. I'd reclaimed Zephyr's name, not for Ryan, but for the girl who'd survived the cave, who'd walked away from a man who'd pushed her off a cliff. Mia's laughter, Liam's expertise, Sarah's fierce support, they were my legacy's heart. The summit had been my stage, but my life was the true triumph. Capachu had tested me, its shimmer had saved me, and I'd emerged whole, ready for whatever lay beyond the horizon. The Seattle skyline glittered beyond my office window, a testament to the empire I, Ashley Winters, was building at Winter's Innovations. A year had passed since Mount Capachu's cave, where the mountain's shimmer, a mystical pulse that had reborn me, had set me on a path of empowerment. The Tech Summit's triumph, where my team's product had outshone Zephyr Tech, marked my rise, but the quiet moments with Mia, Liam Nguyen, and Sarah Patel defined my healing. I was no longer the girl betrayed by Ryan Carter, but a woman who'd chosen herself, her strength forged in survival and trust. Late one evening, as I reviewed project reports, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I answered, and Ryan's voice, slurred with alcohol, cut through the silence. "Ashley, how have you been?" he mumbled. My heart stilled, the memory of his betrayal, pushing me off Capachu's cliff, flashing sharp. Yet his tone carried a weight I hadn't heard before, a mix of regret and defeat. The shimmer's faint pulse stirred, urging me to listen, not for him, but for closure. "What do you want, Ryan?" I asked, my voice steady, the office's hum a grounding anchor. He laughed, a hollow sound. "I keep thinking, If there'd been no Emily, no mountain, would we be different? His words pulled me back to our college days, to the night he'd nursed me through fever, his eyes warm with care. I'd loved that boy, the one who'd named Zephyr Tech for us. But the man who'd chosen Emily's photo over my life had buried him. I said, "You destroyed that chance, Ryan." My tone firm but calm. "You chose betrayal." I decided to move on. He was silent, then whispered, "I know. I'm sorry, Ashley. I loved you, but I was weak." The admission, raw and unpolished, stirred a flicker of pity, not for the man he was, but for the potential he'd squandered. The shimmer pulsed, a reminder of the mountain's justice. I said, "I don't hate you, Ryan. The words are a release, but I don't love you either. Live your life. Please stop calling me." I hung up, blocking the number, the act of a final severance. Mia's voice echoed in my mind. "You're free, Ash." I was not just from Ryan, but from the pain he'd caused. Days later, a news alert shattered the calm. Tragedy on Mount Capachu, 2 climbers found dead. My breath caught as I read, Ryan Carter and Emily Dawson, missing after a climb, had been discovered at the mountain's base, their bodies broken from a fall. The report was clinical, but the image hit like a blow. Ryan, crippled and broken, and Emily, tied to him by a toxic bond, plummeting together. It mirrored my fall in that first life, the cliff's edge where Ryan had pushed me. The shimmer's pulse flared, a chilling echo of the mountain's judgment. Had it claimed them as it had spared me? I sat, staring at the screen, my emotions a tangle. Ryan's last call, his slurred regret, took on new weight. Emily's desperation and ambition crumbled by scandal and loss led her back to Capachu with him. Their deaths were a grim full circle, a consequence of their choices. I felt no triumph, only a quiet sorrow for their wasted lives. Liam stopped by my office and saw the news on my laptop. "They couldn't escape it," he said, his voice low. Sarah, joining us, added, "The mountain doesn't forget." Their words, rooted in our shared survival, grounded me. They'd seen my strength in the cave, and their presence now was a testament to the bonds I'd built. Mia called that night, her voice soft. "You okay, Ash?" I leaned against my balcony rail, the city's lights a steady pulse. "I am," I said, surprised by the truth. "I've got you, Liam and Sarah. I've got me." Now, a gentle hum. The shimmer felt like a friend bidding farewell. It had reborn me to rewrite my story, to find justice and joy. Ryan and Emily's end was their own making, but mine was different. I'd turned betrayal into triumph, not through vengeance, but through creation. Winter's innovations, my team, my life. As I hung up, I thought of the cave, the cookie, the shimmer's gift. Liam and Sarah's trust and Mia's unwavering love were my true legacy, stronger than any summit stage. The mountain had tested me, spared me, and now released me. Ryan's call, his death, closed a chapter I no longer needed. I was whole, not because I'd won, but because I'd chosen to live for myself, those who stood with me, and the future I'd shape beyond Capachu's shadow. A week after the news of Ryan Carter and Emily Dawson's deaths on Mount Capachu, a package arrived at my office at Winters Innovations. I, Ashley Winters, stood by my desk, the Seattle skyline a quiet witness to my journey. The mountain's shimmer, that mystical pulse that had reborn me a year ago, was now a faint memory, its work complete. The package, marked with Capachu's return address, held personal effects of Mr. Ryan Carter. My hands trembled as I opened it, revealing a necklace identical to the one Ryan had worn, but this time, the locket contained my photo, not Emily's. Tucked inside was a note, his handwriting shaky, a final confession that unraveled the man I'd once loved. Ashley, I write this on Capachu, where it all began and ends. The mountain showed me a dream, a life where I pushed you off this cliff, where Emily died, and I became a monster. It wasn't real, but felt true, a mirror of my sins. I loved you, Ashley, from the moment you smiled in that lecture hall, your eyes bright with dreams. You were my world, but I didn't know how to hold you. You were too strong, too independent, and I was too weak, craving validation I didn't deserve. Emily was my mistake. Her neediness fed my ego, her tears a drug I couldn't resist. She chased status, saw me as a path to your family's world, and I let her. That night after our fight, I went to her, drunk on loneliness. She lied about the pill, and on Capachu, she tore away my lies, shaming me before you. I wanted to see you break, to feel something, but you were stone, stronger than I'd ever be. The mountain's shimmer, that strange light, showed me my heart. I loved you, but destroyed us. Zephyr Tech was ours, but I tainted it. Emily's expose ruined me, cost me my leg, company, and pride. I pushed her off this cliff, Ashley, thinking it would free me. Her screams faded, and I sat, lost, my hands stained. I had nothing, no you, no dreams, just a broken body and a name that meant failure. The shimmer judged me, and I judged myself. I'm removing my prosthetic, clutching your photo, not hers. I'll jump, because a life without you, without honor, isn't worth living. Forgive me if you can. I set the note down, my breath steady but heavy. Ryan's words painted a man undone by his flaws, pride, weakness, a need to be needed. His confession, raw and tragic, humanized the boy who'd nursed me through fever, who'd dreamed of Zephyr Tech with me. But it couldn't erase the man who'd betrayed me, who'd chosen Emily's flattery over our love. The mountain's shimmer, he'd written, had shown him his sins, just as it had reborn me to rewrite mine. Its judgment was complete. Ryan and Emily, bound by their choices, had fallen, while I'd risen. I burned the note in my office sink, the ashes curling like Capachu's snow. The act was closure, not anger. I didn't hate Ryan. I pitied him, a man who'd lost himself to his heart. Mia, my best friend, called as I watched the flames. "You okay, Ash?" she asked, her voice a lifeline. "I'm free," I said, smiling. "Come over tonight, we're celebrating." Her laugh warmed me, a reminder of the joy I'd reclaimed. Liam and Nguyen and Sarah Patel, my allies from the cave, joined us later, their presence a testament to the bonds I'd built. To Ashley, Liam toasted, his glasses glinting. Sarah grinned, to new beginnings. Their trust, forged in that frozen chaos, was my true legacy. Winter's innovations thrived, and our summit product is reshaping the industry. I'd handed Zephyr's remnants to Liam, who was rebuilding it under our banner, not for Ryan, but for the vision I'd once shared. The mountain's shimmer had faded, its gift of rebirth fulfilled. It had tested me in the cave, spared me on the cliff, and guided me to this moment. Whole, not because I'd defeated Ryan, but because I'd chosen myself. Mia's laughter, Liam's quiet respect, Sarah's fierce support, they were my foundation, stronger than any betrayal. I stepped onto my balcony, the city's lights a canvas of possibility. Capachu was a distant memory, its shimmer a friend that had set me free. Ryan's confession, his death, closed a door I no longer needed to open. I was Ashley Winters, not defined by a man's failure, but by my triumph, a woman who'd survived, loved, and built a future brighter than the snow that had tried to bury her.